Hey, what is going on, my specialist? SPC here, and welcome back to the channel for a brand new video. So, earlier in the week, I decided to do a poll as to which Star Wars related video you guys wanted to see. I'll post it right here so you guys can see. Obviously, today we are going to be doing my favorite moment from each of the Star Wars live action films. So, with that being said, let's get on into it. Thank you guys so much for clicking on the video. If you guys are new here, please consider clicking that subscribe button, turning on the notifications so you guys don't miss out on any future videos or live streams, and please consider giving this video a thumbs up. So guys, I am a very die-hard Star Wars fan. I have seen the films multiple times, and I will be honest, video-wise, this might be one of the more harder videos for me to do because there are a lot of things in certain films that I really love, so it was kind of hard for some of these really for me to narrow down a specific moment. But I do have 11 moments to talk about, again, for each and every single film. So, let's just get on into it, starting off, of course, with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And this one was so easy for me, and I think it's mostly everybody's favorite moment from the film. That, of course, is the Duel of the Fates between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon against Darth Maul. And for me, it's not even just how amazing this lightsaber duel is. Obviously, of course, you have the awesome choreography that went into this lightsaber duel. The first ever fast-paced lightsaber duel that we have got to see. New Age stuff as well. I mean, obviously, of course, the only thing that comes close to that is the duel between Luke and Vader on Bespin in Empire Strikes Back. But in the original trilogy, the battles were a little bit more slow. But again, besides the choreography, besides how these characters actually interact, the reason it's my favorite moment in The Phantom Menace is because, honestly, the title of this battle, the Duel of the Fates. This is actually a lightsaber duel that is actually going to decide the fate of Anakin Skywalker. Will he be taken by Darth Maul? Will Darth Maul kill these two Jedi? And will we see Anakin go to the dark side? Obviously, we all end up knowing where his story ends up going in the trilogy, and obviously in the next trilogy following that. But for me, it's really just what surrounds this duel. It's not the choreography, it's not the battle itself, it's just what this represents. Ultimately, though, it still ends up being in favor, though, of Palpatine, because obviously, 2 films later, we do see Anakin actually become Darth Vader. Next up is Attack of the Clones. And I have to be honest, this one was a little bit more difficult for me because out of the live action films, this is my least favorite of them all. But for me, I had to go with what I'm just calling the Republic's Grand Army. So literally at the end of the film, after everything that happens on Geonosis, you get this sequence with Palpatine and a couple of other senators standing there on a balcony, and they are staring out into the sea of clone troopers that they just received for the Battle of Geonosis. The Grand Army of the Republic is born. But the biggest reason why I picked this as my favorite moment is because not only in the scene do we know ultimately what becomes of the clones, what ultimately happens later on when they fully become the Empire. It's the fact, too, that you hear the Imperial March, how it is a good foreshadowing as to what is going to happen in the upcoming film. Because obviously we all know eventually they will fall, they will become the Empire, and they will rule over the galaxy for many years. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, for me, I had to go with a very heartbreaking moment, and for me, it is You Were My Brother. Of course, again, another amazing lightsaber duel takes place before this. The big battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Yes, I do consider this to be Darth Vader, not Anakin Skywalker anymore. So that is why I'm calling him Darth Vader. Obviously, earlier in the film, we see Anakin become Vader as he chooses Palpatine's side, goes to the temple, kills all the younglings. And it's ultimately all this that leads up to this heartbreaking moment because, of course, Obi-Wan and Yoda go to the temple, see the hologram of Anakin killing the younglings, which leads us to Mustafar for this ultimate confrontation. And of course, towards the climax of the duel, Obi-Wan takes the high ground. Vader, thinking that he knows his old master so well, decides to try to jump over him to kill him. Obi-Wan takes off the rest of the limbs of Vader, and then he delivers this just gut-wrenching speech to Vader, formerly Anakin, telling him how he was his brother, he cared for him, he loved him. To me, it's just one of the most heartbreaking moments of this entire film. Not only that, this film is just very sad as well. Just all the events that happens. It's easily the darkest film out of all the Star Wars films in general. But adding this on here just makes this a more heartbreaking moment to experience. Next up is Solo, a Star Wars story, and this was another very easy one for me. As out of all the films, it's the most fun. I do have a lot of fun with a lot of this film, but for me, it's the Kessel Run. This is easily the most exciting action that we get. Of course, obviously, getting to just see the Kessel Run in general. That was talked about numerous times in the original trilogy, how Han Solo did it in less than 12 parsecs. And the fact that he gets to actually helm the Millennium Falcon, it's him and Chewie, they're going through the Kessel Run. And it's just an exciting moment, taking out TIE fighters, trying to dodge all of these different debris going around. It's easily the best moment, for me personally, of Solo, a Star Wars story. Up next is Rogue One, and again, another easy one for me. It, of course, is the iconic Vader hallway scene. Rebels have finally just gotten the plans to the Death Star that Jyn and Cassian had just sent up. And of course, after their escape, Vader follows the ship. He is going through the ship, taking everybody out. And these just rebels are stuck in this hallway trying to get out. And all of a sudden, you just hear the iconic breathing of Darth Vader down this dark hallway. And then after that, his red lightsaber illuminates the entire hallway, and you just see the fear on these rebels' faces. They try to get him down with blasters. He's deflecting them, taking them out with the Force, swinging the lightsaber. To me, it's just not only the most tense scene, but ultimately leads up to what a lot of people consider to be one of the greatest Star Wars films, one of the greatest films of all time. So ultimately, us leading into that first sequence in A New Hope is great. And speaking of A New Hope, that is what is next. And for me, this is going to be the Trench Run. Now, I'll be honest, I have come around a lot to A New Hope over the years. It's not one of my favorite Star Wars films a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I did have it a lot higher on my list, but it's a film that I do love and appreciate. I just don't like it as much as other people. So this one was a bit tougher for me because there's not a lot of great sequences for me in this film. But I just love the Trench Run, how we get a whole bunch of things going on in space surrounding him. And obviously, of course, with Luke going down the trench, being followed by Darth Vader and two fellow TIE fighters. It's an intense moment because you can see the timer going down the closer he's getting to the porthole that is inside of the Death Star. And of course, with Han Solo coming down, taking out one of the TIE fighters, it knocking Vader out into space. It just makes for one of the most iconic moments in the entire Star Wars franchise. Now we are at The Empire Strikes Back, and another very obvious one for me. Of course, the greatest revelation in all of movie movie history. That, of course, being the "No, I am your father" scene. Another epic moment that takes place after a very grueling lightsaber duel. Luke and Vader inside the carbonite freezing chamber on Bespin, to me, is easily one of the best Star Wars lightsaber battles, at least in live action. And it just ultimately leads to this very climactic moment of Luke losing his hand, losing the lightsaber that falls down to Cloud City. And Luke is just holding on for dear life. And Vader is just delivering this monologue of Obi-Wan never told you what really happened to your father. And of course, Luke trying to just fight him off, saying, he told me enough, you killed him. And then again, you get the greatest revelation in all of movie history.
No, I am your father.
Still one of my favorite moments in film history, in Star Wars history, between two of the greatest characters in this entire franchise. And this is not the last that we are talking about Luke and Vader, because up next is Return of the Jedi, and of course for me it has to be Vader's redemption. After Luke and Vader have this epic final battle against each other, where Luke finally takes down Vader, he's almost trying to be seduced by Darth Sidious, who is sitting there watching him, saying that he could be the next Vader. And as Vader goes back, takes his spot next to his master, and Luke is just being force lightninged. He's pleading for his father to help, and after moments of him looking back and forth, he finally gets the courage, picks up Palpatine, and throws him down that generator shaft, ultimately leading to one of the most very tragic and sad moments in all of the Star Wars franchise, with Vader getting his helmet taken off and seeing Anakin Skywalker for the first time since Revenge of the Sith. And of course, obviously, with what they go through with Luke and Vader, it's just very sad to watch. Up next is The Force Awakens, and I have to be honest with you guys, this is one of my favorites in the entire franchise. I have so much fun watching this. There's so many moments that made me so happy when I first watched this in the theaters, and every time I rewatch it. So this film out of them all was the hardest for me to pick a single moment. But the moment I decided to go with was Rey, Finn, and BB-8 going to the Millennium Falcon and being chased by the TIE fighters on Jakku. To me, I just felt like such a little kid again, watching the Millennium Falcon go around, being chased by the TIE fighters, taking them down. And the fact, too, that part of the chase actually takes place within the engine of a Star Destroyer, where Rey is just going through, doing all these great maneuvers, trying to get away from the TIEs. And just honestly, the action in this is awesome. And I love the way that they take out the final TIE fighter, where Rey basically stalls out the Falcon, and Finn gets a clear shot at it, takes the shot, destroys it, and then they head off onto their new adventure. To me, it's probably tied with my favorite moment, but this was the one I decided to go with for The Force Awakens. Next up, we have The Last Jedi, and as divisive as this film is, there were a lot of great moments in this, and for me, my favorite moment was the Force projection from Luke, from all the way on Ahch-To, all the way to Crait. The fact that he is that strong with the Force, that he was able to generate that much Force energy to literally make himself project to a whole other planet on the whole other side of the star system. And the fact, too, that he made himself look younger so he could play the mind games with Kylo Ren, even to having the Skywalker saber in his hand the entire time during the battle. To me, it was just one of the most epic moments, one of easily the best Luke Skywalker moments in general. And I just loved the back and forth between him and Kylo in this scene. To me, it's easily the best sequence of the entire Skywalker sequel trilogy, I guess we can say. And finally, we are at the Rise of Skywalker, and this was another one I had a little bit of difficulty picking from, but I decided to go with kind of a very obvious one because it is a moment that made me all warm inside when I watched it. And that was the redemption of Ben Solo. Another moment that leads with a lightsaber duel to start it off with. Rey and Kylo are having this back and forth on top of the remains of the Death Star 2. And the battle itself is actually pretty good. It's very cinematic with waves going all over them. And what leads to Kylo getting stabbed by Rey, which also leads, unfortunately, to Leia's death as well, simultaneously. And the fact that after Rey heals him, she takes off, and Kylo has this just moment where he's staring at his lightsaber, having a moment of, what have I done? Almost kind of like what Anakin goes through in Revenge of the Sith after he helps Palpatine kill Mace Windu. So I kind of like that little, comparison to two different movies. But really, it's just the fact that when he turns around, he basically replays the entire moment he had with his father on Starkiller Base on that small little bridge inside. After what follows the moment on Starkiller Base, it just leads to a moment of what Kylo actually wanted to say to his father. Because you could tell during that moment he was very torn. He did not actually want to go back to Snoke. He wanted to come back to his family. And obviously, even though we all knew it was going to come, we all knew that eventually Kylo Ren was going to turn back to the light side. To me, it's just another great moment, and I absolutely just loved this moment, especially the fact that Harrison Ford did come back to play Han Solo one final time in what to me is one of the best Han Solo moments, even though it's not actually him. So guys, that is my favorite moment from each Star Wars film. Let me know down below in the comments section what your guys' favorite moment is from each of the Star Wars films. And of course, also if you guys would like to, you guys can share just your favorite Star Wars moment in general. It can be animated, books, whatever you guys want it to be. Just let me know down in the comments section below. And with that being said, you guys, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see ya in the next one.